gentlemen, it's an honor to be speaking after Professor Hilsky, and I'm still a bit shaking, so sorry. Usually the warm-up act goes before the main star. Today it was vice versa. But I'm glad to see you all here, and I hope you had lovely coffee. Also, I have to mention, thank you for your question, but you stole some of the things I wanted to talk about. But it was actually nice to hear that Professor Hilsky has the same opinion as what I wanted to talk about, so that was really nice. Shakespeare, now and then. Professor Hilsky has taken us on a journey of then, and I would like to talk about now, because I do not dare to talk about then when he just did. Shakespeare is still alive. That was mentioned here a while ago many times, and one of the proofs of that is the fact that you are here in such a great number, and also the recording is taking place for the ones that weren't as lucky as you are to be here. I think we do need to talk about the fact that all Shakespeare's topics are still alive also. Love, teenage love, relationships between parents and their children, also careerism, horrible word, but also one of the topics. Our society has them all still. The question is how we can make our students interested. Okay, we can say, this is Shakespeare. He is the genius. He is 400 years, not old, but he's been dead for 400 years, and he's still alive. He's great. Okay? They don't take our word for it, unfortunately. So we need to make sure we tell them this information in their language. And what is their language? Phones, technology. They're on the block all the time. They have their smartphones in their hands. I can see quite a few on the tables here too, so it's nice to see that you're keeping up to date as well. So that's our task, to tell them in their language that Shakespeare is still alive. Oxford University Press has done many things, and I will just mention a few in this now quite short session. Websites that Oxford University Press has created to the 400-year anniversary of Shakespeare's death is called Illuminating Shakespeare, and one of the topics there, and I totally recommend you to go and browse for yourselves. One of the topics are films. I'm sure you like films, and our students like films, so that can be one of the bridges, one of the languages we can use to catch their attention, even if it's not to the original language, even if it's only for the adaptation of the Shakespeare's plays. One of the quizzes there I quite liked, and I'll give you a question, if I may. Would you guess which American film genre has been influenced greatly by Shakespeare's tragedies? Comedies, love films, adventurous films, maybe gangster movies, love? Well, in the quiz, the correct answer is the gangster movies. And you can then Google some of the movies that you can play to your students as a proof of that. And one more question. Which author was co-writing the film Shakespearean Love? Would you like to guess, or shall I give you? Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, that was easy. In the quiz you of course have several options, and Tom Stoker is the correct answer. And as I mentioned, film is one of the ways how we can draw students' attention to Shakespeare. You probably know Shakespearean Love, and you know who co-written it. You might not know Romeo and Juliet. You most probably will easily guess which play is this film based on. And also you can guess the picture. Romeo and Juliet is something I totally recommend if you teach at a primary level, or maybe lower grades in secondary if your students are into that genre. It's really nicely done. Brilliant music of Elton John. And some of the film tricks they use, you can also discuss with your students. If you talk about Matrix, maybe they will find something from Matrix in the film. This is one way of how we can bring Shakespeare to students. Prince of Himalayas, it's a film based in ancient Tibet, and it's adaptation of Hamlet. It's very interesting, and one of the reasons the author came with this original setting is that it made clear to him why the marriage comes so soon after death. Here is very nicely explained. She's the Man, another film. Do you know that film? Have you seen it? It's a film based on the 12th Night, and I'm sure your students will know it. There are many, many more films, and I recommend you search, browse, and get your students to watch parts of it. Watch it without sound. Get them to talk about it and discuss it. Plus, one great advantage films, or these unusual films have, is if you give your students Hamlet to read, will they read it? Yes, okay, brilliant students. The teachers I've spoken to mostly told me, well, unless we read it in the lessons, they won't read it. They put it on the list, but if I'm lucky enough, they read it in Czech, not in English. So if you get them to watch the film and then tell you differences between the book, you're more likely to get them to actually read it, because otherwise they only have one part of the picture. I think also if we give them a book in a different format, here for example comic, that might catch their attention. You might or you might not know that Professor Hilsky has translated 4 Japanese manga comics into modern Shakespeare language, modern Czech. And that's one way, or one thing you can use. Oxford University Press has also got a comic out of the adaptation of The Tempest. It's here on the picture, maybe you can see it. Fortunately you can't read it. I recommend browsing and searching for websites where you can get your students to create their own comic books and then use those as a original set. These are the books and films. I've spoken about gadgets. Our students, unfortunately, and maybe you will agree with me on this, use their phones and tablets mostly for fun, not much for learning. This app called Oxford Game Books can be used in both ways. The students download the app either on their phone or their tablet, and they get many different books. After each chapter they read or listened to in the book on their phone, they have a game. Here, for example, is a game of you spotting the difference. Can you see any differences on that picture, even though it's quite far? Colors, yeah. Whenever they click on one of the spotted differences, it actually disappears with a buzz, and they get the word for the thing they spotted. So they're also learning. This book, this specific book, is narrated, and it takes, to listen to it, takes shorter time than how long it takes me to go back home from work in my car. Can you guess how long that book is? I listened to it on my way home the other day, and I was quite surprised that when it finished, I still wasn't at home. It's half an hour long, so if you want to use it in your classrooms during your 45-minute lesson, you will be able to do so easily. If your students don't want to use phone but have tablets or computers even still, they can download another app, which is again for free, with some app purchases, where you can have e-books, electronic books. Your students know a lot about them. Maybe you know yourselves, maybe you've downloaded quite a few. On Oxford Learners Bookshelf, they buy a specific book, and then they listen to it. They can do activities if they wish, not after every chapter like in the previous app. And they also, what I really like, can use integrated audio where they can record themselves. So if your students are into rehearsing plays, you can get them to read a play and maybe choose a character, and they can listen to the audio at home in their own time, space, and no limits or no one peeking and listening to them during the lesson. They will do it at home, they will rehearse their lines, and when it comes to the play, they know it perfectly. So that's one of my suggestions you can use. And if we have a bit of time, we can try it live with you, see how you go. But we'll see. So many different features there. Also, if you give a homework to your students, you maybe will use one of the books for grammar or any other activity that needs them to underline things or circle or write a note. They can do that via the icons on the left, and they can send you the finished page via email, for example. If they do it on a computer, they can print screen and send it to you into your email as easily. One of my suggested activities I would like you to use, maybe give me feedback later on, is Shakespeare's Facebook profile. Students choose a character, they design a Facebook profile together with history, friends, relatives, interests, what they like. They make friends, they update their wall quite often, and then see what happens. Our students are very much into things that are short or now. They don't usually work on longer projects. This could be a length of a half a year, really up to you what you do with this. So this is just one activity that was a bit longer, and as Shakespeare would probably say, blog or not to blog, our students may even design those and then go wild. I also wanted to talk about what we discussed in the question about the translations and how easy it is for students to, in our country and non-native countries, how easy it is to get them to read, because all the readers they can choose from are simplified. They can choose simplified films, simplified books, e-books. They can choose something a bit more difficult. It's really up to them. The choice and the variety is really, really broad. Unlike the natives, who really have no choice and they have to read the original or, of course, some adaptations, but for learning purposes only. So that was really short overview of what's happening at this level. I would again recommend going to OEP's blog. Illuminating Shakespeare is the page you want to visit. Go and search for films. Go and search for apps. Download game books and Oxford Learners Bookshelf. And if you're in our fun club, next newsletter that comes through will also include our new Merchant of Venice adaptation with some activities for the teachers. So that's all from me from this presentation. It's a little graph of how we've taken a journey from books to computers, back to forward to interactive whiteboard, and it's your choice whether you use it in your classroom or let the students to use it at home. Now, because I have about 2 minutes, right?
We are 5 minutes.
5 minutes even. So, I would like to just briefly, a little bit louder, show you the Gamebooks app. Volume on would be helpful. Okay. Now you can see The Tempest as one of the books there. I choose the first chapter because afterwards they need to buy the whole book. And they can read, they can even play about.
Chapter 1.
They can listen.
The Island. Here is Prospero, the Duke of Milan, with his wife and daughter Miranda.
Now listen carefully for the next 2 sentences, because when we're finished, I will ask you to read it aloud so I can record it. Okay? And if you are really loud, I will not be able to hear your individual voices, so it's for your own good to be loud. So let's listen.
When his wife dies, Prospero sees nobody. Some women look after Miranda.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
When his wife dies, Prospero sees nobody. Some women who look after Miranda. When his wife dies, Prospero sees nobody. Some women who look after Miranda.
Thank you very much for doing this, because I think it's really important for us to be able or willing to do the things we want our students to be doing in our classrooms. So I'm really happy and glad that you did, and I'm sure if we practice a bit more it will be even louder and absolutely perfect. All of this was great. So that's one thing you can do with this. And then if we continue, I'm not going to play the audio of course. After the chapter, they have a game. After each chapter there's a different
first challenge.
type of game.
Spot the differences between the pictures.
Now we can spot the
Duke, wife,
etc. You get the picture. Now the other app I wanted to show you just very briefly is Oxford Learner's Bookshelf. It's just for tablets. Excuse me. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay. Okay, now we can discuss with students anything about whether their gadgets take that long to update as yours. Right. Unfortunately, this I cannot somehow stop or do anything about. Whenever I open the app, it just does that. So, probably I will not show you the activity because the time is over. But if you would like to see, I can show you later. Or if you browse on the internet, there are many YouTube videos on how this specific app works. And they don't tell you how long it takes. Right, thank you very much for your attention. I hope this was at least a bit interesting for you. And if you have any questions, maybe talk to me later.